Day on 100 Yards of Football with Vincent Turner, where our Legend series continues. Today, 100 Yard ventures into North Louisiana, Lincoln Parish to be exact, where today's legend subject became a second-team All-SEC for the Bayou Bengals of Baton Rouge after launching and leaving from Ruston High School in 1984. A first-team All-SEC in 1985. A first-team All-American in 85. He made the Pro Bowl in 1992 as a member of the Denver Broncos and was a second-team All-Pro in 1993, coming in at 6'1", 236 pounds at linebacker as a third-round pick in the 1987 NFL Draft and is an inductee into the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame. He's also a member of the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame with an impressive career with the Denver Broncos, the New York Giants, and the Detroit Lions. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 100 Yards of Football, Michael Brooks.
If you like the video today, please come in and share it. We surely appreciate it here on 100 Yards Football. And if you want to put any nice comments about Louisiana State University or the Denver Broncos or New York Giants, I'm sure this young man will be very pleased. Before I bring him up, that's a definition of the word underrated. And this gentleman right here, doing my background work on him for the past week, he was one of the most underrated players that played in the National Football League. And everyone knows that I'm a guy that followed the game in the 60s and 70s because I'm 62 years old. But when I look at all them great linebackers from back then, you think about Dick Butkus. You think about Willie Lanier. You think about Bill Berge. You think about Jack Lambert. That's the inside linebackers. Then you think about the outside linebackers from that era. Chuck Harley, George Webster, Michigan State finest, Bobby Bell, Tim Hendricks, Dave Wilcox. Well, this gentleman right here, I will put my life on it. I will add him to the list. So welcome to 100 Yards Football. How you doing, Mr. Michael Brooks?
How you doing? That was a great introduction, man. I appreciate it. And, you really gave me a lot of high praise, and I thank you very much.
Okay. We're going to start here one more time. If you like the video, please come in and share it. We'll surely appreciate it here on 100 Yards Football. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. Special thanks to my guy, my producer today, Mr. Logan Landers, for making it happen today. To the team of 100 Yards Football, Mr. Ronnie Keebler, thank you. To Mr. Jeremiah Long, thank you. To Mr. Bobby Butler, Florida State finest, first-round pick of the Atlanta Falcons, thank you. And, of course, to Mr. Mark Denham, a.k.a. Mark Bass. And then, of course, a guy who's helping us outside down there in Ruston, Louisiana, by way of Grambling, Louisiana, Mr. Jim Maryland. So, Mr. Brooks, you went to LSU. Well, I'm going to start from the beginning. Tell us how it started for you from small school up to where you got to LSU and then to the Denver Broncos. But start back when you started playing football, and how old were you?
Oh, well, I started playing football probably as a 9, 10 years old. Come from a big family, 13 brothers and sisters. I happen to be the youngest in my family. And my brothers and them always thought, since there were so many boys in the family, and they thought, man, one of us should have the ability to go pro. And back in those days, we didn't have a lot of stuff to work with. So they used to put tires together and had me out there in the yard, running through the tires and the basics how we all grew up playing the game, and with the quick feet, high knees. We used to do that in the yard. And even though back then I hated football, I didn't want to play the game because being the youngest of 13 brothers and sisters, my mother kind of bathed me and pampered me a lot. And so football at the time just wasn't a thing. I just wasn't about it. And I used to like to watch it. And my brothers, when my parents used to leave the house, and they used to jump on me and beat me up because I wouldn't watch sports. And so after my father passed, when I was like 15, 16 years old, I started getting interested in football, and I wanted to play the game. And so when I went out for the high school team, we had a coach called Jimmy Chick Childress was there. Going to his second season, I just felt like that, it was time for me to go out there and play. And I was playing a lot of sandlot ball at the time. What I
Yes.
mean, like sandlot, what I mean is guys used to get together with no pads on. We find an open field, and we play like different sides of town played against each other. And that's how I really started to play football and really started to learn the game is through sandlot. And it wasn't no pads or nothing on. It's just guys going out there and playing ball, bone on bone, and the best man win. And man, that was some of the physical football I've ever seen in my life at that time because guys were getting their arm broke, guys were getting their head, getting their head cut and head busted open and stuff like that. And so it was real physical and a lot of times, by us playing different neighborhoods, after the game, guys would get into fights and stuff like that. But that's how we kind of bonded. We didn't have a lot of things to do growing up in my hometown, but and I was good at that. And back in those days, I used to like to run the football. I wanted to be a running back. And so back in those days, because I was big and I had some speed, and I like running the ball. And even though it was physical, guys were throwing forearms and guys jumping on the pile, and you don't want to be on that pile too long because guy might hit you and might have a stick in his sock and
Yes, sir.
might juke you in the stomach with a stick or turn your ankle or stuff like that. But I enjoyed it, and a lot of time it took 3 or 4 guys to tackle me, and I thought I was pretty good at doing that. And when I started playing organized football, man, it was just I just thought it was easy because doing sandlot, man, it wasn't a particular age that played. You can be 17. There's guys out there 30, 40 years old playing. And
Yes.
so I just thought, even though it was unconventional, but it taught me the game that playing against older guys and the physicality of the game, and I really loved it and enjoyed it. And so when I went out for the high school team, man, it was just easy. And the coach put me out like I was on the third team defensive end. And I told him, I said, man, y'all had a sorry team. I come out there and start. And after that next day, they had me number one on the depth chart. And I mean, the guy thought I was just so physical, and because playing sandlot, I mean, you had to be physical. You had to bring it. You had to you had to hit guys, and I wasn't afraid to hit people, and it just came natural to me. And that's basically how I got started. It just happened like that. I had the physical tools, I had the speed, and I enjoyed hitting people.
And then you played at Ruston High. And then the skill set went to another level because y'all won the state championship in '82. And when I say that skill set, that instincts A+, that athletic ability A+, that explosion A+, that hand usage A+, that blitzing A+, that intensity A+, and then your on-field leadership A+. And Mr. Brooks, I did research and I saw what you did in high school. Talk about your team that won the high school championship. And I think y'all won it by a score of 8-0, correct?
Yes, you're correct about that. We played our rivals, and Neville High School was known for beating Ruston. And Neville at the time was dominating Ruston. I think Ruston haven't beaten Neville like in 20 years. And so they put out a lot of great athletes over the years, and they had a lot of guys that went on to college, played at LSU, and a lot of guys went on to play pro football. But we had a coach, named Coach William, my defensive line coach. Man, he came from Alcorn, and he came to Ruston High, and man, he taught us how to come off that football. We was all raw, didn't really have technique, and he really taught us the technique side of football and lifting weights. We didn't really have a lot of weights to lift, so he brought the technique in the weight room and also on the football field because we had the raw ability and talent, and when we were real aggressive, but we just was going out there just wilding, but we didn't really know what to do, what hand to use, and the technique. And that first year, we went 11-2, and I thought that first year was a learning year because we was kind of raw. But that second year we came back, we won a state title. We went 15-0. I think only like about 5-6 teams scored points on us. Man, we had a devastating defense. Man, we were knocking jokers out. Man, we beat Neville twice that year. We beat them in the regular season, 15-14 in Neville. We beat them in our home stadium. We probably had, I think that was the first time we sold out. Man, people was everywhere. I think the Governor Edwards came to see us play in my hometown because the magnitude of that game, man, it was so great. We was undefeated, they was undefeated, and we beat them. And being the state titles, it was a defensive game, defensive struggle. But I think I wound up causing a safety, and my cousin, rest his soul, he wound up blocking the punt and running for a touchdown, and the defense really scored all the points. And so we wound up beating them 8-0. It was a tough game, tough fought out game, nip and tuck. But we just had that tenacity and that hard work, man, and we just kept going, and we just wanted to beat Neville. Neville had all the notoriety, and we coming from Ruston, we haven't won anything. I think Ruston had at that time did not win the championship. I think it was like 20 years. So we was kind of like people kind of underestimated us, which was great. But we had a great defense, man. We was just knocking people out and swarming around that football. And, we had to run at that football every play. And I think by us running to that ball like that, being aggressive every single down and giving it 110%. And we had coaches that really pushed us. And we worked good as a unit. And a lot of guys that played on that team was from the neighborhood. So we grew up with each other, knew each other. And I think that really helped us out a lot because, we just wanted to play hard, for our teammates. And man, we just did what we had to do, and it turned out we went 15-0 and won the state title. And man, that was so great and wonderful. And then we just had just a great time after that, enjoying. And then the city was the first time we won a state title. Man, the city closed down, threw parties for us. So that was the first time we ever saw something like that happen. And man, we were so excited, and we knew football just gave us so many in high school, gave us so much other things that we was able to look forward to in our future. Because at that time, we didn't think we had a future growing up in the South. We just wanted a lot of things to do. But football, man, sports kind of brought us all together. And guys knew once they was great on the football field, they saw other opportunities in their life. And, man, it really helped a whole bunch of guys, man, to figure out what they want to do in life for us going to school. But it just, man, football, that football just brought everybody together in the community. And, man, it was the first time I ever seen something like that, the white people and the black people really mixing together, in the South. But, winning, and let winning cures all. And, man, we won, and we was loved. And, man, I always think about those days to this day.
And then you took your career. You was highly recruited after your state championship. Of course, I think some of the recruiters would have probably thought they were crazy because we all knew you was going to go to LSU. Home state. And then you went to LSU school. Now, I've been following LSU. Now, think about this. I'm 62 years old, so I knew about LSU like in 1969, 1970 when they had Tommy Casanova, Bert Jones, Halloween 1959, Billy Canton, Jerry Stovall, Ken Kavanaugh 1939. Then from a defensive side, I knew they had two great linebackers back in the 70s, Warren Capone and Mike Anderson. And then they had Albert Richardson, and then here's come you. And then you set the tone because I'm looking at your career stats, man. And you was hurt your senior, but you had 206 tackles, 37 tackles for losses, 20 sacks. And you missed 8 games your final year. So I'm looking at it like this. That's why I understand they called you the enforcer. And probably you was one of the greatest linebackers that ever came through the SEC. Not only LSU, but the SEC, because at that time, I had just moved to Knoxville, 1985, right? And my first cousin, Bruce Wilkerson, played offensive tackle for Tennessee. So I saw a lot of Tennessee games. But, man, that linebacking core in that conference that year, Biscuit, Cornelius Bennett, the White Jesus, Dale Jones at Tennessee, then Alonzo Johnson at Florida. Then you tell us about that time, sir.
Well, I didn't know at the time I was going to go to LSU. I really didn't know anything about LSU at first. Being in Ruston, the only schools I thought about at the time was the home schools, and that was Louisiana Tech and Grambling. And a lot of guys before me went to school there. I think, even Burt Jones is from my hometown. He went to LSU. But we had guys like Fred Dean, rest his soul, Johnny Robinson, he played for the Raiders. Fred Dean had a Hall of Fame career. Those guys chose to go to Louisiana Tech. And so at that particular time, everybody was comparing me to Fred Dean and Johnny Robinson. So as I started playing football, I started receiving those letters, and I started thinking about LSU and started doing my research on LSU and the players that they had, the guys like Ricky Chapman, the guys from Winfield. And I said I thought I had an opportunity to play there. I said, well, they got some guys from North Louisiana that was highly recruited, and they down there playing. And I just thought, well, they down there doing it. And I felt like I had a chance to do it. And I always want to play on television. And back then, playing on television, I always, I feel like you're on television, you're a star. And so my thing is I always wanted to be a star. And so I went to LSU because I wanted to play on television. And I felt I can get the maximum exposure for my abilities. And I picked Louisiana State University. But, all those great players, like you said, man, I met Warren Capone. I know Mr. Mike Anderson, the seafood guy. Those guys are mentors of mine. Look up to those guys. But, man, LSU was a great school to go to, playing against some of the best players in college football. And also, we were seeing Dale Jones. At one time, they had thought me, Cornelius Bennett, and Dale Jones could have been the first 3 linebackers ever to get drafted in the first round. So we was that highly touted, and you forget Wilbur Marshall came out of Florida too, also. So it was a lot of great players that came out of the SEC at that time. There was great athletes, great players that I looked up to, and I knew playing the time in the SEC will give you a chance to play against the best athletes, in the country. And I knew if you want to have a great career in the NFL, you want to play against the best. And being at LSU, we got a chance to play against some of the best teams, the best coaches around, the best players, the best running backs. And if you go out there and play hard and you have a good season, in a Tiger uniform, you got a chance to move on to that next level to play professional football. So LSU, man, that was a dream come true. Running out there on the field, Tiger Stadium, man, you got set back. Back then it was like 75,000 people. Now it's like maybe over 100,000 now. But back then, man, it was so exciting running out there, run out Tiger Den, doing those Saturday night games, man. Especially those Saturday night games, man. It just wasn't nothing like it. Man, the fans yelling, screaming for you, man. It just gets your juices flowing, and you want to go out there and perform at a very high level. And man, I just love playing in Tiger Stadium. Even though I played in a lot of NFL teams, but man, it just was nothing like playing in Tiger Stadium on a Saturday night. Man, I tell you, it was just thousands of people there. Then afterwards, win a game, you always go out to the restaurant and eat food and all that. Everybody would know you. Everybody would come up to you and hang out with you. Man, it was just so great, playing with the Tigers, man. I just have so many great experiences. And you remember Albert Lewis and all those guys, man. All those guys was great players. And man, I just look up to all those guys and wanted to be just like them. And we had another guy named Rodem Alonso, was an outside linebacker. He lead LSU now with the most sacks. I think he have 22. And I think I'm second right now at all-time sack leader at 20. And, that was always a goal of mine to be the sack leader. But unfortunately, my senior year, I tore my knee up, and that dream did not come true for me to be the LSU all-time leading sacker. But also, I think I'm second all-time in tackles for loss in LSU history. So even though I've been out the game 20, 30 years, I still hold, I'm still high on the records as far as sacks and tackles for loss after all these years. So that lets you know the impact that I had on the game, and playing at LSU at that time. But, our coaches taught us how to attack. They always wanted us to attack the football, hit those gaps, hit those holes. and having Jerry Stovall as a coach as a freshman, and then the great Bill Lonsberger came in. He brought that pro mentality to us, to our team, and man, he just wanted us to go out there and play football, be reckless and abandon. He didn't care about if we made a mistake, as long as you make it full speed. So a lot of guys went out there and just played ball. They just let it loose. And when the coach tell you go out there and just play ball, don't worry about making mistakes. As long as you go out there and just you're going 110 miles an hour. A lot of times you can make up for the mistakes. If you do have one, just by your pure speed, your tenacity, trying to get to the ball, you can make up a lot of things. Because of that. So by giving us that ability to do that, man, we just didn't think about making mistakes. Man, gave us the freedom to go out there and play ball and play loose. And I just think guys like playing like that, playing loose. And man, we just had a great defense. I think my junior year we wound up having for his defensive wise, we gave up like 8, 9, 10 points a game. I think we only lost like one game that year. I think we were 9-1 that year. So we had a good defense. We had a lot of guys off of that team that went to the pro. Henry Thomas, he played. He had a long career. Roland Barbet, he played for the Seattle Seahawks, and we had Carl Wilson. He went on and played like 7, 8 years in the pro. So we had a lot of guys on that team and that line, man. I just love playing with those guys. We had a great team and a great unit, and we work hard together, man. And we love playing for each other. And I think that's why we were so successful. And those Tennessee players, man, and was a great team. I know they had Reggie White was part of that team, and we went to Knoxville and played them that year when I think Reggie was like a junior or senior. Man, Tennessee destroyed us and beat us really bad that year. But Reggie White, man, you see why he was so great and dominant in the NFL, man, because he was great in college and he was a handful. And we tried to double team him and triple team him. Man, he was running through all guys, like it wasn't nothing. And so I think they beat us like 20 something. I don't know if we scored a point. I don't know if we scored it during that game. I think we maybe kicked a couple of field goals. But man, they destroyed us that game and just humiliated us that game. But playing against great athletes like that in the SEC, you're gonna have days like that and games like that every now and then. And we didn't show up that game. But we have good players like that, man. Stuff like that can happen to you. But we play with good players like that and go against good teams like that. It's a possibility thing like that happen to you. But overall, man, I love my experience at LSU. I love playing with those guys. And to this day, I go down and visit those guys and hang out with those guys, the old players. They just had a spring game down there like 2 weeks ago, and all the players came back. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, all the guys show up for the spring game, and it's wonderful seeing all those guys around the program like that.
But going back to the Tennessee situation in '84, you mentioned the great Reggie White. I think you forgot that young man out of Leo High School, the Slim Tony Robinson. Don't forget about him now, even though his career didn't go well. But I just want to throw that out there because to me, he's the greatest quarterback that ever played at Tennessee. But Mr. Brooks, our producer, Mr. Logan Landers, has a question for you today. Logan?
Okay.
Yes, sir. All right. So, like I said, Vincent, you did a great job bringing up the college career. I'm going to flip it to the NFL now. Mr. Brooks, as our guy, Mark Denham, a.k.a. Mark Bass, said in the intro, you had a Pro Bowl appearance in 1992. So I want you to tell the fans here, tell us, Mr. Turner and myself, what was it like getting selected to the Pro Bowl? And also, just a little follow-up, what do you think about the recent rule changes that you've made in the past couple of years to try and make the game more, just not even playing the game anymore, just playing flag football and other events as opposed to the hard-hit football that we used to?
Well, that Pro Bowl year, that was record-wise, we didn't have a great year. The previous year in '91, we went to the AFC Championship game and lost to Buffalo, but they beat us up there in Buffalo, I think 10-3. And that next year, the year I went to the Pro Bowl, it wasn't a good year. I think we went I think we was 500 that year, but we played the Raiders, and we had a blitz on, And I think Carl Mecklenburg, the all-pro linebacker I was playing beside, he wound up stripping the quarterback. I think I don't know if it was Jay Schrader. He wound up stripping the quarterback, and I picked the ball up and I ran for like a 56-yard touchdown. And man, the crowd was yelling and screaming. And Dennis Smith, the all-pro safety that I played with, he walked up to me after that play. He said, "Man, you just made the Pro Bowl." So I didn't really take it that way. Didn't really think about it. I was like, why is he saying that? Because it was like midway during the season. But I didn't really pay attention to it. I just kept playing ball, wind up leading the Broncos in tackles again for the third straight year. And I think we was in a meeting at the time. And when the ballot came out, and Dan Reeves was telling everybody who made the Pro Bowl. So I didn't think I was going to make it because the previous years I thought I was going to make it. They had the great Sam Mills and all those guys from the Saints, and those guys was going in every year. Junior Seau was going in every year. The great Junior Seau, a great friend of mine, God rest his soul, was going in every year. So I didn't think I had a chance to get in there. And when they announced that, in the meeting, I made all pro. Man, I was so excited, ecstatic about it. I immediately left the meeting room, ran out there and called my family and told my mom, Neil, that I made the Pro Bowl, and because my contract was up. And I feel like now, as I finally made the Pro Bowl, I can make some good money. So I was happy and excited about that. I was so excited because I always wanted to make the Pro Bowl because the second 2 years, but prior to that, they had me in the conversation on making a Pro Bowl, but I had all those great players that was in front of me that had a bigger resume than I did, more notoriety than I had. Those guys were getting the praise, and I just wasn't getting any praise for my play, and because we had like a down year. But man, that was one of the best years that I played. A lot of scouts and a lot of coaches was telling me that that year I had the best year as an inside linebacker, and some thought that year I was the best inside linebacker in the NFL that year because of my play. So I was very excited about that. And then especially going to Hawaii, man, I never been to Hawaii for the Pro Bowl. So that was exciting going over there, seeing those guys like Harvey Long and all those guys, because they were trying to recruit me and knew I was a free agent to come to their teams. Mm-hmm. So Harvey Long, Dwayne Board, the 49ers, I forgot the defense coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles back in the day. All these guys were trying to recruit me to come play football for them because they knew I was a free agent. So that was exciting, seeing these Hall of Famers, these great players coming to me, trying to get me to come play with their team. So man, I was ecstatic about that, even just to meet those guys, Harvey Long and those guys. Man, I was excited about about that. But I wound up signing with the Giants, Dan Reeves' old team, and kind of finished my career with the Detroit Lions. But about the rule changes, I really don't like them because back in my day, football was more of a physical game. It was all about who can recover if you injured. A lot of times you had to play injured because back in those days, if you hurt, I would say you can't make the club in the tub. And a lot of times guys didn't spend their time, in the training room because they know in the training room, the coaches come in there, you couldn't afford to be hurt back in those days and missing 2 or 3 weeks of football. You'll find yourself on injury reserve or you wind up out the league. So I knew back then you had to be tough guys, like those guys you named earlier. You had to be a tough guy. You had to be able to go through the pain, through whatever you're going through, and still get out there on the field and perform. But I really don't like the rule changes, but I know the rules had to change because of the concussion lawsuits and all that was going on. A lot of guys was really getting hurt, really getting beat up, and they, especially back in that era, you had most of the guys that was going through all the concussion. A lot of those guys passed on. That's kind of why we had that big concussion lawsuit to this day. But it kind of happened in the era of the hard hitting, the head, because every drill in practice was all out hitting every play, every drill. And if you wasn't ready for that, and back then you didn't have any time you could be on the football field. Dan Reeves was old school, from the Tom Landry era. He had us out there 3-4 hours practicing. So and we hitting all this time. So man, we was real beat up, and your body is sore every day. So you got to make sure you take care of your body, get in those cold and hot whirlpools. You know, you got to get yourself back to ready to play. But that type of game, the football game, was real tough. But you got to look at the way it's going now. I think those rule changes, even though I don't like it, I think it helped the team now, the quarterback, because the quarterback is the guy that need to be on the field. He's the one that everybody coming to see. He's like the point guard in basketball. So you know, he's the one got the ball in his hand every play. He's the pretty guy. He's the guy that date the cheerleader. So everybody want to see him. And I think it helped the game, because when the quarterbacks are on the football field, the games are better. You're putting up more points, and that's basically what they really want to see. I think back in my day, the hard hitting and all that, it was more like a man game. Now the NFL want to get the mothers involved with football. So they want the mothers want to feel better while their son is out there. Okay, your son gonna be protected. And so now you see now the NFL have a lot of campaigns, commercials they do, for the women, because they want the women to be able to, if they can get to the women, the women, they can get their children to play the game. And I think what Roger Goodell have done to help elevate football. I mean, look at football now. All them changes, only thing it really did is elevate the game to high arts the way it is now. People now don't want to see all that hidden, guys getting knocked out, laid out on the football field, broken legs and arms. We had a couple of scares in the NFL this past season when things like that happen to guys. So you really don't want to see that happen. So I think for them taking a lot of that physicality out the game, I think it really helped the sport and propel the sport. Guys not getting hurt, and guys are available to play, every Sunday, and that's what you want. You want your product on the football field. You want your best product on the football field for your franchise, to win, and especially the quarterback. You want him out there because he the guy really going to put the fans in the seats. He's the face of your franchise, and you want him out there healthy, standing up straight, playing a game that we all love. And, it's just a big difference when he's not out there. It's kind of a little fall off, but the game is moving forward, with the new rules. I don't like it being an old, let's say, tough guy, old school football player as myself. I grew up watching Ray Nitschke and all those guys, and matter of fact, got a chance to meet Mr. Ray Nitschke, the late great Ray Nitschke, one time in the elevator. Actually, it was happened during the Pro Bowl, so I got a chance to meet him, one of my idols. Man, I was so excited like a little kid to get a chance to meet one of my idols. But those guys, that shoulders I stood on football, those guys that I watched, Jack Lambert, I love those guys, Dick Buckus, I love those guys, Mike Singletary, I love those guys. That's the type of football I grew up playing. But nowadays, you need those rules to keep the ball in place where you keep your product on the field and you can keep winning games, because that's what people really want to see anyway, is the quarterback on the football field.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much for answering the question, Mr. Turner. I'll kick it back to you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Brooks. Before we move on to your time with the New York Giants, we're going to kind of end the interview with your time with the Giants. I want to ask you something going back to the 87 draft. You was picked round 3, 84 pick. But when you look at the players at the linebacker position that went before you, like Cornelius Bennett, had a decent career. Mike Junkin out of Duke that went first round, nowhere to be found. Shane Conklin had a couple of decent years, nowhere to be found. Johnny Holland, decent. Alex Gordon with the Jets out of Cincinnati, nowhere to be found. David Bratton from the 901 where I'm from, nowhere to be found. Once all those guys went before you, I knew you had some like an attitude. You had to prove something, and you had a chip on your shoulder. Looking at some of the guys like Joey Porter Jr. that fell in the second round this year, Will Levis that fell in the second round, people talking about them being first-round picks. On the show today, 100 Yards Football, what would be your advice to them? But not going high as they thought. What would be your advice to those two young men? I'm just curious.
Okay, but first of all, I want to make a comment, about all those guys you named, man. Them were some great players. Them linebackers you named, man. Johnny Holland, all those guys, man. All them guys, my friend Cornelius Bennett, all them guys, my friend. Man, them were some great players. And Bosworth, you got to think about Brian Bosworth in that clue too, because me and Bosworth was roommates. We was Playboy All Americans, and they flew us to, I think it was Miami, and he was my roommate. And so, man, those guys was all those guys are great players. But what those guys had to realize, once you fail, not fail, I mean fall. Once you fall, when they had you projected second round, first round, third round, even with my major knee injury, they still had me coming off the board in the second round to San Diego, but it didn't happen that way. Denver picked me up in the third round. But, when I got drafted, when I heard my name called, when Coach Reeves called me on the phone, I didn't think about the position, and I was the 86th player chosen. I didn't think that way at that time when my name was called. The first thing that came to my mind, man, I was so happy that I got picked, and even though I was a third rounder, I just knew I just wanted the opportunity, and I want to tell those young guys, man, don't look at the way you was picked. Look at the opportunity that you have to go out there and play and to be a better player. And I had that chip on my shoulder, wanting to prove to them that they made a mistake, that I was better, and that's all you got to do. I think Jalen Hurts did it too. Pretty much the same. He had the same kind of mentality. So those guys can look at a guy like Jalen Hurts and see what he did as a second round pick. Look at the money he just got in the NFL. So don't let that bother you or worry you what position you was picked in. Even though I was a third round pick for the Denver Broncos, the guy that got drafted the first round with Denver that year, named was Ricky Nattiel from Florida. He only played 3-4 years in the NFL. So a lot of those guys, you gotta look at a lot of those guys, even though they might get picked ahead of you, they don't mean they don't have a great career better than yours. A lot of times they don't turn out that way. A lot of times injuries can hurt you, that can set you back, that can cause you not to have a great career. But what they need to do is don't focus on the position where they was picked at. What they need to do is focus in on, okay, now this is what I got to do. I done made it. This team obviously like me because they picked me. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to show them how great of a player I can become. That's what I did. I put in my mind, I'm going to show them how great of a player that I can become. I didn't really stack myself up against the other people because I was just looking at me, that I know what I had to do. I know what was inside of me, and it was up to me to prove and to show them who I was as an athlete. I just wish they don't get wrapped up in the position and the people that went before them. They got to look in the mirror and say, look, I have what it takes. I got a prime opportunity to get in this league and to play, and it's up to them to determine what kind of athlete they're going to be moving forward. So they got to get in that gym, put their time in, learn their plays, working hard, developing their body. Because a lot of time when you're a rookie, sometimes it takes about a couple of years to get your body NFL ready to really play, the game of football. Because you got guys older than you, been there 5-10 years older than you. So I would tell them, man, get your mind right. Focus on what you have to be as a better player. I don't know what kind of mechanics you have, but you can always look in the mirror and know, no matter how they evaluate you, you know exactly what you need to work on. Regardless of what they're saying, regardless of what they say, you can do this, you can do that. But only you really knows that as an athlete what I need to work at, what I need to work on. They just got to come to grips with themselves and know what they got to work on. And then every day they got to go out there and do it. Every day. And don't try to work too hard where you're trying to impress the coaches and get them to look at you. Believe me, they watching you. When you think they ain't watching you, they always watching you. So just focus on the things you got to do. When you're out there, always give it 110%. Don't be out there messing around, BSing around. Focus on what you need to be to become a great player. If it's in you to become a great player, look at Joel Embiid, just became the basketball MVP. This guy didn't pick up a basketball. He was 15 years old, and look where he came from. Look where he at today. MVP in the National Basketball League. So you can become anything you want to through hard work, dedication. You got to put that time in. If you do that, and if it meant to be in the stars, for you to be that kind of player, my coaches always tell me, Bishop Harris, my linebacker coach at LSU, the cream always rises to the top. If you're that cream, you're going to rise to the top. So what you got to do is focus on what you have to do, put in the time and work. Don't be afraid of the moment. Believe in yourself, because anybody else gonna believe in you but you. You got to believe in yourself, and you got to go out there and put it on tape, because the film don't lie. The big eye in the sky don't lie. So when you look at that tape, you look at your mechanics and those you got to work on each and every day. Work on the things you need to work on every day in practice to be better. And take it seriously, because this is your livelihood. This is a chance you got to take care of your family for the rest of your life, to take care of, you as an athlete, your family for the rest of your life. And man, there's only so many guys get this opportunity. They in a great position. A lot of guys don't get this opportunity. So when you get it, make the best of it. You don't want to go back and say, I woulda, coulda, I shoulda. Do it when you got the chance. Get on your knees and pray to the good Lord every night. He will give you the strength and the wisdom to overcome anything that you need to overcome, and give you the wisdom and the talent to do it. Believe in yourself, have the faith, and go out there and carry it out, and it can happen.
Your time with the New York Giants, the real truth. Your first year, y'all went 11-5, made the playoffs. But talk about New York, this city on Broadway, neon lights.
Well, New York was when I became a free agent. Dan Reeves had got fired from the Broncos at the time, and he wound up going to signing, with the Jets. And so I was a transitional player at the time, so I had to get paid, like the top 10 at that position. And so I didn't know that I had any opportunity going to the Giants at that time. So I was looking. I thought I was gonna stay a Bronco. But that didn't work out. And so Dan Reeves called me on the phone and said, Michael, I want to bring you up here. I want to give you an opportunity to come up here and be the guy that you deserve to be. And we want you to come up here. We're going to give you the money and pay you, and want you to come up here and play. And, man, I was ecstatic. And I got a chance to meet the late, great George Young, great general manager. Flew me up there. I got a chance to meet him. But going to New York, man, I got a chance. I said, man, here I am going to the Big Apple, and I got a chance to play with the greatest linebacker ever, and that's Lawrence Taylor. So I was excited about that. Couldn't wait to get up there to meet him. Couldn't wait to get up there to play with the Giants and everything. Just couldn't wait to get the ball rolling. But when I signed with the Giants, I was in the locker room. And for the Giants to sign me, they had to cut two of their players that had been there for like 10 years. These guys was well-renowned, all pros. They had to let these guys go, Pepper Johnson and Carl Banks. And those guys were all pros and been there for 10 years and helped them win Super Bowls. And so that wasn't an easy thing for them guys to do. But they did it because they had to generate to free up some money to sign me. And so Lawrence Taylor got mad. He was really upset by that. And I understand him being upset. Of course, them guys had the history of winning together, going to battle on the football field together. But I was sitting in the locker room on the defensive side. He came in the locker room on the offensive side. He was throwing chairs all against the wall. He was all upset and mad, saying, who in the hell is this Michael Brooks? And, I'm sitting in my locker, and these guys walking by me, looking at me, looking all upside my head, and, they didn't say they was afraid of him. A lot of guys was afraid of him. He was erratic. They was afraid of him. They was getting out of his way. Wouldn't nobody say anything to him. They was afraid to open his mouth to him. So I'm just sitting in my locker, I understood he was mad. I would have been a little upset, also. And but I'm on the defense side of the locker room. So I'm hearing this guy. I didn't see him, but I'm hearing him throwing chairs against the wall. Boo, 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 boo. Who in the F is this Michael Brooks? Y'all done signed this Michael Brooks. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, man. So I said, I just said to myself, man, I hope this guy don't come over here messing with me. I understand he's mad and upset. I just hope he don't come over here. I mean, I just want to play with the guy. You know, I understand him being mad and upset that, you know, two of his friends, you know, was gone. But I said, he just don't know me as a player, as an athlete. I said, once he get a chance to know me as a player, as an athlete, you know, he wouldn't, you know, he just wouldn't feel that same way about me. So he didn't come on others. He didn't come on the defense side while I was at, which I was glad he didn't. I didn't want any confrontation with him because he was the guy that I idolized myself to, that I looked up playing, and I always wanted to play with him. That was always a thing of mine. I always wanted to play with him, and by me, even though it was like his 12th, 13th year, wound up being his last year, even if it was a tail in his career, you know, that didn't matter to me. Man, I still wanted to be on the field with him. I still wanted to play with him. And, you know, I don't care if he was in his 18th year. Just being on the field with him, man, was just an experience to me I would never forget. And I cherish to this very day just playing with that guy, man. It was a wonderful feeling, and knowing that, you know, we also became friends after that.
You know, sometimes when you go through this journey and you talk about people throughout the football world and then also throughout life, you always be blessed. And today I've had a great individual. Knew about him because, like I said, I lived in Knoxville, Tennessee in 1985, so I knew a lot about LSU football. But what I didn't know about this young man, Mr. Michael Brooks, or how good a play he was, the balance he had as a linebacker. And if people want to really challenge me, all you got to do is go look at film on this young man. There's a lot of linebackers I've seen play this game at a high level. From the days I grew up, Willie Lanier, to the mid-70s, Leroy Jordan, Chuck Howley, to the 80s, the 90s, even now with Ray Lewis, some of the guys being at the top. But I'm going to tell you, man, for my money, and some people might call me crazy, Mr. Michael Brooks, go back and look at the film, the balance and his ability to attack the hole and come, as we say, make that hit that make you want to run away on the next play in the hood. This gentleman right here was serious. So today, it's been an honor, a pleasure to have Mr. Michael Brooks, formerly of LSU, by way of the Denver Broncos, by way of the New York Giants, by way of the Detroit Lions on 100 Yards Football today. So, Mr. Brooks, what would be your final words today here on 100 Yards Football? Your final word today.
Well, I want to thank you guys for inviting me on. I really had a great time, man. Football has been it brought me so much joy in my life. Been able to give me a lot of things in life. Helped me take care of my family. Helped me come out of bad situations in my life to be able to have a home and to buy a home and to move out a lot of surroundings I was growing up in. And football is a wonderful sport, man. It just teaches so many things about being a leader, teach you how to get along with different people with different backgrounds. It just teaches you how to become a man. It just teaches you how to get along with others and come to group to form one purpose, and that's to be a great team. And so football, man, I love the game and I love the sport. And one thing I want to say is I also had I went through a ordeal with cancer and prostate cancer. And I want to tell all the guys that's listening, if you have a family history of prostate cancer, colon cancer, any type of cancer, go get checked at an early age. When you're 40, 45, 46, it's very crucial, especially if you have a family history. Early detection is the best way to save your life. And to save my life, because I was, my prostate cancer, I was diagnosed of, but I was able to, to get it at an early stage, and they would be able to get it out and take it out. And I've been cancer free for like 9 years. So it's gonna be things you're gonna go through in life, and just like on the football field, how you attack that line, how you attack everything else. When things happen to you in the world outside of sports, you got to attack it also with the same kind of intensity, the same type of awareness. You got to know what's going on, and you got to attack it the same way. That's the only way. You can't sit back and wait. You got to attack it the same way you do on the football field, because early detection is the best way to catch it early, and the best way for you to have long life after the fact. So my thing is, man, go get checked. Especially have a family history of it, and your life is not over. You still can come back and achieve and do all the things you want to do. But early detection is a key, guys. Go out there and do it and get it done. Don't hesitate about it. Get it done. I know it's uncomfortable in those situations because what a doctor have to do to you as a man, but don't get into that man thing. It's about living things. Being alive for your family, being alive, be there for your children, being there, being there for your wife and your children. That's what it's all about. Just like football, when we play the sport, we looking to help others in our family. We all put others above us. You got to do the same thing when you're going through stuff like that. It's bigger than you. There's other people counting on you, want you to be around for a long time. So I don't think I can say with much love, man, go out there and get it done. Attack it the same way you attack anything in life. Head on. Don't be afraid. And man, it's better on the other side.
I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Michael Brooks today. My final words, first and foremost, to my team here at 100 Yards Football, to Mr. Logan Landers, thank you today. To Mr. Ronnie Keebler, thank you. To Mr. Mark Bass, Mark Denham, thank you. To Mr. Jeremiah Long, thank you. To Mr. Jim Maryland, thank you. And once again, to Mr. Michael Brooks for bringing the truth that's very special today here on 100 Yards Football. And you know how I do it. When I bring our guests on, I always think about songs back when I grew up and when I was at the University of Arkansas. And when I think about Mr. Brooks' story and what he did today, I go back to the great band Chic. Remember Chic? And they had a song, We Are Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to be free. My baby and me. Nevertheless, rebels are we. Life is a switch. Don't let it play a trick on you. See, when you have great individuals like Mr. Michael Brooks coming from LSU,
Tigers,
it makes you excited. Once again, here at 100 Yards Football, we thank Mr. Michael Brooks for joining us today. Great guy, great man, outstanding football player, one of the most underrated linebackers that played this game. But you heard his story today on 100 Yards Football. And if you liked the video, please come in and share it. We'll surely appreciate here on 100 Yards Football. Y'all be blessed today. Thank you for watching. Be blessed here on 100 Yards Football. God bless.